Good morning. Happy Easter. I have been thinking a lot during Lent about this idea of openness. I consider myself a very open person. I am receptive to different ways of seeing things, of interacting with people. I'm very intrigued by different perspectives. And so I consider myself an open person. But one thing I know about myself is that openness does not translate into vulnerability. It's hard for me to be vulnerable with people. I'm careful about what I share and how deeply I share and with whom I share. I safeguard myself. And in doing so, I think I'm less open than I believe I am. And if I consider, I took this actually to my spiritual director, this reflection, and he said, Monique, he said, the incarnation is a perfect experience. Jesus becoming man, God becoming a human being, is a perfect experience of that vulnerability that you long for. We know that the way we interact with other people will often impact the way we interact with God. That's just sort of our proving ground, right? We practice. That's our MO. It's the way we interact. So if I am hesitant to be vulnerable with people, then inevitably there's going to be some of that caution that flows into my relationship with God, no matter how much I love the divine. And so by considering the incarnation as this desire of an invisible God to become physical, to become someone that we can look at and observe in action among other people, it's as though God is showing me and you how to be vulnerable. How do we interact with each other so that we can interact with God in the same way? If you look at Holy Week, the reflections we've had just so very recently about how vulnerable Jesus became for us, there's examples over and over and over again. You look at the garden and how absolutely vulnerable he was as he prayed there in agony and in great fear. Isn't there another way to do this? Then when he's arrested, the disciples want to defend him, pull out their swords, and he says, no, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to have you defend me in that way. And then there's the experience of the going before Herod and going before Pilate, and the way that he is exposed and vulnerable in front of the rulers of the temporal world that he's part of. There's the experience then of the stripping of the garments, the abuse, the crowning of thorns, the spitting in his face, the pulling away of everything that he knows and way that he operates in this world. He's slammed with a cross. He's made to be humiliated. The Romans found the perfect ways to humiliate their victims. In every experience, he's vulnerable. He's nailed to a cross. He's hoisted upon that cross. He has to pull upon those nails to get air in his lungs, to breathe. He hangs there for me with no shield in front of him, with no veil in front of him. It's pure presence to me. And I think that really opens an opportunity for us as well. What does it cost us to be vulnerable with God? If I can't be real with God the way God is real with me, sure, I can still have a relationship. Sure, I can still have a prayer life. But how deep and how long lasting and how sturdy are the roots of that relationship, helping me weather the storms of my life and the crucial times when I'm going to lean on my faith in particular ways. Being real, being vulnerable, pulling aside the veil between myself and God, looking God in the eye, looking Jesus in the eye, and allowing Jesus then to return the gaze, to look at me in the eye. How vulnerable will I be with God? And as vulnerable as I am is what I will receive in return. If I've got my shield up, protecting myself, then I'm just going to get what ekes around my shield. But if I can open everything, if I can set aside the guards that I have, I will receive all of God's love. It pays to be open. I'm telling myself that too. But beyond that, vulnerability.